Play of the game from way down.
True, silence. Rainer getting absolutely
A team wipe.
The living bomb's going.
Oh my goodness, the ring. Bob says Nico gonna find Rainer.
Hello everybody, good evening, and welcome to the Nexus Gaming Series. It's Season 8, and we are in week number 1 of the regular season. So tonight we're going to see a matchup coming from the west side. So we've been doing a lot of Division D so far this season, but we're going to be getting some C West tonight. We actually have, I was looking, I've actually got a couple more C matches coming up later this week. That sounds like I'm getting the...
Hello everybody, good evening, and...
Why am I getting that? There we go. Sorry about the background extra noise there, so you'll hear that in 20 seconds. I took care of that. I had a window open trying to fix... Apparently Twitch doesn't like either the word arrogant or the word Nephalem in the title, so I had to fiddle around try to make it work. But anyways... It's good enough now. So Tidecaller Mrgles versus Arrogant Nephalem. Tidecaller Mrgles, this is a group of players. I don't recall which team they were before, but you know, these are people that we've seen before in NGS. And obviously Arrogant Nephalem is a staple of NGS, so you know, very familiar with these guys. So we are going to be getting started here soon. Let me just fix one thing real quick here as we got our, looks like our, never mind, I thought we had our fifth. So we're missing just one player. They'll be here shortly, but while we're waiting on them, why don't we take a look here at our maps. All right, so our maps here. So our bands were on, for Tidecaller Mrgles, we had the bands out on Dragonshire and Tomb of the Spider Queen. For Arrogant Nephalem, Cursed Hollow, and Sky Temple. And our selection tonight, game number 1, is going to be Towers of Doom. That was the selection of Tidecaller Mrgles. And you know what? It just it feels appropriate that the Murlocs here are on the left in the blue, that Arrogant Nephalem in the red. Their logos kind of match the colors. It just worked out that way. So lucky for them, lucky for us. Makes it a little bit easier there. And there's our, I guess, 10th player, 5th player for the one team. So we are all set. You know what? Why don't we take a quick look at the standings? Now, this has not been updated for today, so if there's been anything today, it's not going to show. Let's take a look. One game has been... Is that right? Oh, yeah, that's right, because Arrogant Nephalem and Piecemeal, they I think it's a flex match that got played there, if I remember correctly. So there you go. So Arrogant Nephalem currently sitting there with 1 point. And for the Tidecaller Mrgles, this is the first game of the season for them. So they're sitting currently at 0 points. No shame in that. 0 points at the beginning of the season. Just letting them know that we are all set and ready to go. And it sounds like the teams are just about ready as well. So we should be getting our match started here shortly. New poll. Hey, thanks Ginger for the 100 bits. Really appreciate that. From all the Mrgles, thanks for casting at the last minute. You know what? I love to do it, and it was available after my raid. I was able to get the raid done and had a few minutes to get the dog out, so it works out great. I'm happy to do it. I love doing this, so thank you again very much. And it looks like we're getting ours from both teams, so here we go. guys. Just waiting for them to push the button. It's coming. There we go. All right. Oh, I didn't set the draft music up on this one, did I? You know what? Let's see if I can do that. What is that? Let's turn off Lucio's music here, and let's go find the draft music. Is that in this one? I got to go find it. Hey, Ekeeb, thanks for the 100 bits as well. Much appreciated. Our first band's gonna be Junkrat. Where'd it go? I thought it was right here. Oh, because it's in music. That's probably too loud. It's gonna be Malthel. Ah, no Kime feeding tonight. They were talking about that all day. That's okay. There you go. That should be about right. So Malthel and Junkrat going to be the bans here so far. Now Junkrat, you know, provides a lot of potential stall on gathering those points. So I feel that's a really strong ban. And Alarak has just been a really common ban and pick lately. A lot of strength from that hero. Silences, does a lot of damage, and allows you to win harder. Kael'thas going to be the second ban here from Tidecaller Mrgles. And so first pick. So we've seen a lot of priority on heroes like Johanna early in the game. Now, Jaina's another, you know, another one that gets picked up a lot early. Now, what I'm interested to see is that, of course, we just had these big... his bay is gone. We just had these big XP changes, and you know, I'm interested to see how teams perform. And we saw here in the last couple of days that you know, teams that didn't really prioritize keeping themselves in the lane long enough to gather the XP globes paid a heavy price for it. So some heroes gain some additional power, like your Sonya's. And we do have the ETC Sylvanas here on the left, so they're going to be looking probably to push a bot lane hard, maybe get a strong double soaker. But then you have other heroes that, you know, their role in the meta probably changed a bit, and so your heroes like Falstad are going to have a little bit harder time in a solo lane and turn more into a 4-man or like a roaming ganker kind of thing. So gonna see the Lunara as the final ban here, and I have to wonder if they're not looking at an Uther for the healer for this. I mean, Uther does go well with the ETC for that Divine Mosh combo, and would certainly help considering they've got a Tyrande. Tyrande makes it real easy to interrupt those setup. I do have an ultra wide. I have a 29-inch widescreen, and I really love it. I actually was reading a post on Reddit the other day about, you know, talking about the aspect ratio and how you can set up your aspect ratio so that you can do this on a normal screen, I guess, so that you can actually see more landscape. You can't see more vertically, just more horizontally, which, I mean, you know, there's an argument to be made there because you really oftentimes can't see, and the reason that I really enjoyed this was when Chromie came out, but then of course that was gone. And there's the Uther, so, you know, as expected, taking that Lunara out to at least reduce the potential threat that she brings against the Uther. And they've already got Jaina, so I don't expect to see the Gul'dan. Don't expect to see something like a Nazeebo, although Nazeebo's power did go up pretty significantly. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it at some point in one of these matches here soon. I don't think I've seen it yet. But we're going to see Blaze and Raynor, so some sustained damage out of the Raynor there, and an off-lane Blaze for Kime. And of course, the Raynor Jaina combo, standard. So this is a very standard draft so far here for the Arrogant Nephalem, and you know, at least so far as well for Tidecaller Mrgles. I mean, nothing too exciting. Now Chen is going to be their offlaner. You know, neither of these guys are really going to be hot about double soaking. You know, they can both clear a lane decently, but you know, they're not going to be rotating around a whole lot. So it'll be interesting to see. At this point, I would say that they're probably both looking at a rotation between those two lanes. But of course, you know, the rotation soak is a little bit harder to deal with too, because if you have a fast clear, like with the Jaina, for example, or I mean Sylvanas Greymane, you know, you're clearing those globes far ahead. You have to be a little bit more aggressive. You have to go onto the other side of the map, the other team's half of the map, to pick those globes up. So kind of a rough place to be sometimes, depending on the type of team comp you're going into. But we're all set up, ready to go in game number 1. These teams are loading in, so let's get ready to showcase some Heroes of the Storm. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Alice? Is that it? Cool. We're good then.
Prepare yourself for battle.
All right, let's get this show on the road. On the left, we've got Tidecaller Mrgles. Sheej going to be playing the ETC Bob on the Sylvanas Key. Ripping the Uther Kotip on the Greymane. And Chen going to be played by Rise Robin.
The battle begins.
Over here for Arrogant Nephalem, we've got Segatai on Johanna, one of my favorite names in NGS. Mig on Raynor. Penguin on the Tyrande. Kime on Blaze. And Trabe on Jaina. And right out of the gate, we already know Arrogant Nephalem wins because they threw out the owl and it hit. And just like Groundhog Day, 50% of the time that's right. Actually, I don't even think that's true, but anyways. So we got our brawl going in the mid, 4v4, 1v1 up in the top lane there. So our solo laners here, Chen and... I was going to say, did we just see XP get left behind? But no, that was the other team. Chen and Blaze up here. So Blaze did take the new habits for that unstoppable. Chen taking the auto attack soak, giving a little bit more self-healing there. We've got Block Party for ETC to help against that damage coming out from Raynor. And Raynor going into the, not the Elun's Chosen, that's of course Tyrande, but the Ace in the Hole. Now, that rotation potential issue that I mentioned earlier, not as big of a deal if you clear the wave so quickly that your opponents aren't nearby, right? So we do have Tidecaller just slightly behind in their rotations, but not really that much, and that's going to give here, both teams are going to get onto their camps, and they might be looking for an invade. Okay. I think they were considering it, depending on how far they were here. It is going to be the Greymane that's caught by the Condemn on this rotation, but overall is going to be able to make it out there. The Lunar Flare not quite able to stick and keep the Wolfman down. Let's check in here. It looks like Chen giving a little bit of work in on this Blaze. And we're going to come back in and check every once in a while just to see how the minion XP is going between these teams and just see which team is doing better here. Looks like our 1v1 ultimately going to pull back here, reset themselves as level 4s picked up for each team. And the Siege Camp getting a lot of value in the bot lane here for Arrogant Nephalem, doing a lot of work here. Now we do have Merc Queen, it looks like, for Sylvanas, so once that comes online with those Mercs, that'll make it a lot easier for Tidecaller Mrgles to push up into these lanes with Merc camps, as really they can destroy. It looked like maybe that XP, we were talking about that in chat earlier, that little XP globe might have actually not got all the way to the player. So it was mentioned that, of course, these XP globes, they do follow. They're relatively slow. And we just missed the Chen kill. I was just flipping up there, too. But they are kind of slow, so you could outpace an XP globe trying to chase you. But with that kill here, Blaze is going to get in onto this, and I don't know that Greymane can get up here quickly enough, so that should be 4 points right out of the gate for Arrogant Nephalem, and they do get that. But they're getting zoned pretty hard out of this bottom as the rest of the team just pushing hard into the Tidecaller Mrgles here in this 4v4. So Blaze gets them 8 points in the top half of the map with that Chen kill, and he's rotating down here. Greymane's coming back in. Segatai falling low, the power slide is coming in, and damage over time, but Chen gonna get that flying kick. But Uther gonna be the next kill here, so, and it looks like Kotip is also very low. Greymane having to pull back out as the health bars on the side of Arrogant Nephalem falling pretty low here, but not low enough that they're willing to just back away. They've got the rest of the Mrgles here pretty low here. Chen might fall with that stagger damage. It is going to be the stagger that kills Chen. So that's all 12 points going over to Arrogant Nephalem. And that's also going to give them level 7. But let's take a look at that XP. So the main section we want to look at here is first, how are Blaze and Chen doing? So right now, Blaze sitting about 1400 XP ahead of Chen. Now, I think some of that is, you know, probably coming from the hero kills that he was present for there. Minion XP is pretty close, about 500 more currently over to the side of Arrogant Nephalem, and you know, some of that could just be attributed to the top lane missing a wave, because the XP out of these are something like 480 right now, so that would be one wave basically of minions missed, and that could be just simply from Chen being lost. But that's a pretty significant value, because look at the difference in heroes. I mean, we've got 3 kills to 1, so 2 kills have netted 1000 XP. That's, each kill is basically a full wave of minions. So with Blaze killing the Chen, that's essentially like getting 2 waves of minions. That's a huge deal to them. But Chen is getting that Blaze pretty low, requiring Kime to pop the Pyromania, and that's a lengthy cooldown. But with that new habits, the globes will help to reduce that cooldown. So 40 armor for Blaze there when he's using the Pyromania. And eventually that'll give a 2-second unstoppable. So double altar phase is coming up here. It's a 4v3 in the bot lane as Arrogant Nephalem pushing back the Tidecaller Mrgles. And I think, you know, this early game is going to be a little bit stronger for Arrogant Nephalem, and we need to see Tidecaller push at 10. To push to get 10, they've got Chen still soaking in the top lane here. Looks like 10 is just around the corner here for Arrogant Nephalem, and Greymane's going to come up and leave Jaina down in the bot lane. See if they can't try to get something out of this mid channel. And they do catch the owl, so that's going to prevent that stall. But Segatai coming in with the flashlight, stalling it out, and level 10 is now available here for Arrogant Nephalem. They give up those 4 points. They can do that. They're up 24 now to 36. So sorry, Mega Muffin, the 40-0 dream is out. But that's okay. Rotation up onto Chen. He does use that stagger, so he's going to be all right. But let's take a look at what we've got here. So it is the Divine Mosh. We've also got the Panda Pals there for Storm, Earth, and Fire. Cursed Bullet and Wailing Arrow for the Tidecaller Mrgles. On the side of the Arrogant Nephalem, though, we've got Bunker, Ring of Frost, the Blessed Shield, Shadowstalk, and Rainer's Raider. So no combustion, which is fine. I mean, the Bunker can potentially help avoid that mosh. Obviously, it's not going to help them if they're in it, but if Blaze is really quick on it, then that can help. Same thing even with like the Storm, Earth, and Fire. If that Storm, Earth, and Fire comes out, they can pop that Bunker just to have a little bit of safety there. And as mentioned earlier, Merc Queen is online, so Sylvanas has pretty powerful Mercs here, but it doesn't matter if those Mercs don't make it to the towers. They can't get any additional bonus to kill towers if they die in the lane. And right now, Arrogant Nephalem doing a really good job of clearing those sappers. But in return, Tidecaller says, you know what, we got Sylvanas. We can clear that pretty quickly. Yeah, it took me a second, Mudge. I was like, are you saying 10 points? But no, you're right. Level 10. Yeah. So just one altar. Let's zoom out so we can see the action here. Blaze and Chen above. And they're going to continue their 1v1 there. Segatai getting the power slide follow-up with the Wailing Arrow silence there. Big Ring of Frost coming in onto 2. ETC probably looking for a mosh, but that Divine Shield going out onto Chen, keeping him alive. And there's that mosh, and it's just Tyrande outside of it. And they're diving on the Tyrande. They don't care about the people in the mosh. They want to take care of that healer. They get the healer, and they get a full team wipe. And all for just a Chen. And that's what they are, that's what they're really looking for. They're looking for that opportunity to get those big combos with the Divine Shield on Mosh Pit, or obviously in this case it was the Divine Shield on Chen, but that allowed them to stay in that fight a little bit longer. And the big combo, that Power Slide plus Wailing Arrow onto Johanna, preventing her from using that Iron Skin. Fantastic play. There goes the Blessed Shield from Johanna. Probably a little bit early, I think, getting the stun out there, but there's no follow-up here. So even with the Jet Propulsion from Blaze, getting that additional stun, you know, really that was just a heroic that kept them, you know, here for a little bit longer. And I'm not sure the value of that. Ginger calling out, nice team fight for the Tidecallers. Indeed, that was a fantastic team fight. A big minion wave up here on the top. Chen just making it up here to clean this up. Now, again, with the changes here, you don't necessarily have to be there when they die, as long as you're there shortly thereafter. Right? Because you've got 6 seconds to pick up those minion globes. Let's check in on our XP totals. Once again, minions right now, 21,834 to 23,114. So, again, a very slight lead going over to Arrogant Nephalem. They've definitely been picking up those minions a little bit more. But the kills with that 5-man team wipe, look at those kills, 5691 to 2389. Almost double in the XP. And, of course, a lot of that comes from the timing of those kills being later in the game, getting more XP for those. So Arrogant Nephalem picking up that mid lane as we've got the double altars. We'll zoom out so that we can see both of these altars here. But Johanna is still in the bot lane, so I don't expect to see this turn into anything other than a 1-for-1. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. They no pressure in on Arrogant Nephalem here with the 5-man. But that does put pressure in the bot lane. And there's a big mosh, but the Condemn does interrupt it, not before Jaina can get taken out. And there's that Blessed Shield. Here comes the Divine Shield onto Greymane. Greymane looking for blood, gets the Iron Skin onto Johanna. She just barely gets out. 30-40 hit points. And now ETC in a bit of danger thanks to the slowing damage from that fort. But is going to make it out just fine. And with the 4-man squad here, they're going to get onto this camp and make value happen out of that Merc Queen. Try to get this into the tower, because that's about 60% of the tower's health. But never mind, they don't care. They're actually going to rotate up, maybe see if they can't get in onto the Blaze, gather the minion XP. They're going to split as well into the bot lane to gather that minion XP. Because again, we did see Johanna down in the bot lane, keeping that minion wave pushing forward, and that got them a little bit more minion XP, but it also got a lot of damage onto this tower, so about 2/3 of that down. Chen in the mid lane here, getting his drink on with this full rotation. Now ETC power sliding in onto the Raynor, probably looking to boop that Raynor back, but the Blessed Shield is going to keep Raynor alive. Storm Earth and Fire coming out, probably looking to try to catch Raynor, but Raynor's already gone, so yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's a whole lot that they can do with the Panda Pals there, so not a whole lot going on as far as ultimates on the side of Tidecaller Mrgles. They do have the Silence Arrow from the Sylvanas, but it looks like they're going to try to get aggressive in here as Blaze is all the way in the bot lane. That's going to give them a 5v4. The Ring of Frost coming out, trading a bunch of danger as Uther going to finish that kill. The Lunar Flare hitting on the ETC, and Chen going crazy on this Tyrande, but Raynor does secure the kill onto the ETC, and he's continuing the job on Kota. Greymane falling a bit low there as Chen zoning out the Tyrande. She's very low. But there's the Divine Shield, and now Greymane going for blood. Sylvanas going to be the first to fall, but Raynor paying the price as well. And so far a 2 for 2 here, although it looks like with that 2 for 2 and Blaze coming in nice and healthy with a nearly full mana bar, that's going to push back the Tidecaller Mrgles. And of course, Kotep has to be a little bit careful there, because with not a whole lot of health, that minion wave could have been a significant problem. All right, catching up on chat here. Yeah, ETC regretting not taking that larger face melt at level 4, instead taking the over the walls, right? Yeah, over walls and terrain. What is the name of that? Crowd surfer. Of course it is. Vision scouting out the team here, getting in on this camp, and looks like Arrogant Nephalem saying that's fine, we're not going to come in on this. There's enough there to give us a problem. Chen versus Blaze up in the bot lane there, or bot lane, up in the top lane, wherever we're talking about. And some poke damage coming out here in this rotation. We do have the Blessed Shield going out. Divine, I'm sorry, the Mosh was looked for there, but just a little bit late on getting it. Now Kotip probably going to be the second to fall, is in fact Uther not going to make it out. It does have Divine Shield, but ultimately I don't think that that would have gotten him anywhere. So expect to see them clear this up, and with this wave, you know, they can use the Johanna's Iron Skin, come in here, pop down this bottom fort, and we can already see that they're calling for this. Segatai leading the charge to get this fort down, help them get now 5 points, because this bottom altar all but secured for Arrogant Nephalem at this point. Very difficult to come into this aggressively when you don't have your bot lane tower available. And we do see, so Jane is going to go ahead and pick this up as the camp is picked up by the rest of the team. And this Sapper camp now threatens 3 points if it makes it all the way across this lane. And because the tower is owned by them, if it crosses the red line over there, which is actually blue for us, but if it crosses that line, they get points. So I almost wouldn't mind seeing Blaze coming down into this, but Blaze is focused, you know, more importantly on getting level 20. And again, these minions right here, very close to that line, so they're trying to clear that out. Jaina getting a root and huge damage onto the Greymane. Greymane diving in to try to get some damage, but only has 3 seconds. That looks like 2 points, I think? Yes, indeed. So Tidecaller Mrgles now within a single boss of the end of this game. And level 20 is coming up for Arrogant Nephalem. The only heroic currently available of the long cooldowns is the Mosh Pit. So this is a double altar phase. We see the left and right up on top. A lot of ways that Arrogant Nephalem can finish this game, and Blaze in a lot of trouble here. Does pop that bunker, but very little health going into it, but it's gonna be ETC getting just obliterated there, and the cold snap coming out with that level 20. Chen just is about to die as Uther falls. Now it's gonna be Greymane diving in, trying to take somebody with him, but ultimately with these altars showing up here and a 4-man kill here coming out from the Arrogant Nephalem, they're just gonna make their way onto the boss. They're not gonna wait the 10 seconds for the altars, and they're gonna finish this game out right here, right now. And Sylvana says, you know what, that's fine, I'm not screwing with my KDA. GG is called as game number 1 going over to the Arrogant Nephalem. Good evening, Shui. Glad you could join us. It's always a pleasure. Showcase the talents here for everybody. Yeah, that bunker was absolutely perfectly timed, and you know, in all seriousness, came out and jet propulsioned out of that at the exact location that they needed to, because there was nobody there. He got completely out. And the Ring of Frost, that Ring of Frost, like Trabe, perfectly placed, perfect timing to not only save the Blaze, but to just destroy all of the hopes and like every hope and dream that Tidecaller Mrgles ever had in their entire lifetime, just gone with that Ring of Frost. So it's up to them now to, you know, pick up their bootstraps and get into game number 2. That was their map pick, the Towers of Doom. They had a good comp for it. Oh, I didn't do the poll. Darn it. All right, well, we'll do it for game number 2 when I get to that point. What else do we have in chat going on out there? Win by 6 cap the flex. Yeah, I suppose that is another option too, Fox. Oh man, definitely not a Ring of Loss. Yeah, Ring of Loss was definitely last night, not tonight. Let's see. What else do we got? Chen popped ult for duel over camp top lane. Right, yep. So, yeah, I mean, it was... The hopes and dreams there were on big mosh pits, and there were a couple that were really solid. You know, securing the kill on that Jaina on the second one. The first one, of course, getting a nice 2-man mosh that left Tyrande by herself to fend for her life, and that was that first, I think, full 5-man team wipe. But you know, just after that, couldn't quite find the right time and place, and especially having to use the Divine Shield on other targets, whether it was on the Greymane, whether it was on the Chen, you know, because they were taking so much damage. Ultimately, they had to find, you know, some way to keep into that game, and they just couldn't find it with that ETC mosh. Great combos, though. I mean, while the score was something like, you know, 20, I think Arrogant Nephalem had somewhere around 20 left. That was still the fights themselves were pretty decently balanced. I mean, 10 kills to 13 kills, you know, overall. So I certainly don't feel like the Mrgles are out of their league in this. I think that they can put a really strong team fight back into this and come into this next game with a vengeance and put some hurting on to the Arrogant Nephalem. Let's see, there he went for, it looks like, first pick, so it looks like this is them. So let's show those maps, shall we? What do we got going on here? So our bans, again, at the beginning, Tidecaller Mrgles banning out the Tomb of the Spider Queen, and Sky Temple was not banned by them, never mind. Tomb of the Spider Queen and Dragonshire. Arrogant Nephalem banning out Sky Temple and Cursed Hollow. Our first game was on Towers of Doom. That was picked by the Tidecaller Mrgles and won by Arrogant Nephalem. Our second game here is going to be Infernal Shrines, and that was picked by Arrogant Nephalem. There you go. That's what we're doing. That's where we're going. That's what's happening. How's everybody doing tonight? 34 people. Don't you guys know it's 11:30 at night? What are you doing with your lives watching Heroes of the Storm at 11:30 at night? I'm glad that you're here, though. It's always positive. Oh, yeah, they're asking me if I'm ready. Here, I'm just chatting away, waiting on these guys. Oh, I should probably write down what they took last game, huh? Make sure nobody changed teams or anything like that. Let's see. So, Uther. All right. Don't forget. I'm gonna do a poll. Remind me around the time of the second ban phase so that I don't forget. That way you all can vote on who's gonna win this game. There we go. All right. Infernal Shrine. So in the last game, of course, first pick was on the other side. So we saw a Malthael ban at the beginning of that, along with a Kael'thas. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Kael'thas ban, exactly. It's only 9:30. You know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. 9:30. Living in the mountains. And Junkrat gonna be again the same as the earlier bans there. I don't know if that should be in bed. Fair enough, Shwee. Yeah, actually, the poll's going to be 3 minutes, Shui, so it'll be plenty of time for people to voice their opinions and talk about all the wonderful things that they have to say about the Tidecaller, Mrgles, and Arrogant Nephalem. Johanna going to be the ban. And that's a good ban. I mean, that's a strong hero for Segatai, so, you know, getting the Johanna ban out there, and this is a strong map for Johanna anyways, so really worth doing. 3 minutes is the maximum duration, and I'm not going to do the poll until the end of the draft anyways. So there you go. And Sylvanas, and you know what, Sylvanas, they already showed that they will take her, and this is a really strong map for Sylvanas. So all of these, you know, all these bans are really not only targeted bans, but they're really strong for the map as well. And we're going to see Malthael being picked up by Rise Robin. So still no Kime Malthael. It's not happening. Burrito, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the scene. Rip scene. What did I do wrong? What's wrong? It still shows. Anyways, we're going to go back into the Jaina, and this time it's going to be Mal'Ganis. And I can't really tell them, so I'll just try to send a message to them over here. Segatai reminder, Winged Guard is banned. Make sure that they're aware that they cannot take such a talent. Draft. Oh, the draft is not showing. My bad. Silly me. There you go. Fair enough. Good call. Sorry, guys. Well, anyway, so Malthael, Thrall, and ETC gonna be the pickups here. So they're gonna go right back into that ETC. We're gonna have the Thrall as well there for the root. Gosh, NA casters, man, just where do we get these people? But it's gonna be Uther banned out, so they don't want to have to deal with the Divine Mosh. And you know what, with a Mal'Ganis, I can understand that. You want to be able to put your targets to sleep. And they're gonna ban out the Tyrande, so no long range Mosh interrupts for you, Arrogant Nephalem. So we could still see the Rainer coming in with Jaina. It worked out, you know, just fine for them last game. Some other, let's see, what else? Segatai is the tank, so Mal'Ganis is going to be the main tank. So we still have an option for an off lane. Something, apparently somebody just subscribed to the, or followed the NGS page. So, okay, so we're going to see an interesting setup. So we're going to have Zagara. Now, that's not the 4-man player. So Zagara's not going to be, or I'm sorry, that is a 4-man player. That's not the solo laner. So interesting. You don't, I mean, we haven't seen Zagara as part of the not solo lane group, generally speaking. So, and it's going to be Lunara and Stukov going to round out the draft here for Tidecaller Mrgles. Late night cast with Arrow. What draft? Indeed. You know what? Who needs a draft? You guys show up just to hear the soft tones of my voice, right? Isn't that what we're going for? And there's a Blaze once again for Kime. And you know what? Why not? It worked out well for them in the last draft. Make sure nobody's changing anybody. It looks like we're good. Fair enough, Shui. Megas is a Zagara main. Interesting. All right. I haven't forgotten the poll yet because I'm going to do it right now that we have the full draft showing. Now everybody can vote. If you want to vote, check up at the top of the chat. I don't know where it is if you're on mobile. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but you should have the option to vote for one of these two teams. If you're on your desktop, it should be at the top of chat. His best character by a country mile. Well, then I am really looking forward to seeing this. This should be quite entertaining. I imagine we'll see the maybe like quest stacks for auto attack build. Is that the thing for Zagara? I don't even know. I don't think I've actually ever cast a Zagara game. I'm kind of excited about this, and this would be a really good one. But anyways, about all of that, let's go ahead and get into the introductions of our teams. And since we're on the right here, we'll go ahead and start with the Arrogant Nephalem. We got Kime on the Blaze, Segatai on Mal'Ganis, Trabe on Jaina, Penguin on Alexstrasza, and Mig on Zagara. Let's check to make sure that we don't have a banned talent. We don't. We're good. On the left, for the Tidecaller Mrgles, we've got Key on the Stukov. Rise Robin going to be playing the Malthael. Sheej on ETC. Umbob on Thrall. And Lunar is going to be hopping around there under the name of Kotip. And so right out of the gate, we're going to see Zagara here up in the top, already working on this top tower. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're a ranged assassin character. If you don't have anybody in lane, it's real easy for you to pick up those XP goes. Big jet propulsion in, though. That's going to force Lunar to hop away, try to gather that heal from the Stukov. And he will end up using that bio kill switch to bring her back up quite a bit there. Usually takes Medusa Blades instead of stacking AA. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, Porky, I was really concerned about it, but I did send him a message. Make sure that they were aware that Winged Guard was a banned talent, so at least the opportunity was there for them to know. Let's take a look at the rest of those talents, as we do have the rotations coming in for these teams here. So Fingers of Frost, and of course New Habits again. It's going to be Infest for Zagara, so I imagine Zagara's going to be doing a whole lot of spending time in lanes. ETC using that power slide to get out after being put to sleep, so not quite getting the stun out of Blaze. And it is going to be the Q build, Live and Let Live for Alexstrasza. Over there for the Tidecallers, though. So Malthael going into the Fear the Reaper, giving him that extra movement speed when he's not mounted, as opposed to the Pale Horse. So not looking to have... Oh, wow, 8 votes, 50-50. Well done, chat. Couldn't make it any better than that. So anyways, not getting that extra mounted speed, so probably not going to be doing any double soaking, is my guess. They're probably going to leave, you know, somebody in the lane, and it looks like that's Lunara to deal with the Zagara. And Zagara here, and this is kind of what I mentioned about that bush gank. I mentioned this in chat earlier, but it's going to be a gank here. The Malthael able to come in and get that kill, but they get the counter kill onto Lunara. But anyways, what I was going to mention is, you know, you can sit in a bush and just kind of pop in, gather the XP, and move out if you're kind of solo and you want to stay hidden. But yeah, that quick gank from the Malthael going to give them that quick burst in XP. Let's take a look at that. Did they get the same? They did not. So interestingly enough, that extra 2 seconds of time gave 6 XP over to the Arrogant Nephalem, because it was just a moment later. But we do see the minion XP still here slightly in favor, once again, of the Arrogant Nephalem, about 1 minion wave ahead. Zagara getting caught here a little bit far forward, and ETC's gonna get that kill again. So second kill onto Zagara here. This time no counter kill, so mana bar here on Thrall very low. Does have the mana tide, so as the game goes on, that'll be a little bit easier to deal with that. These comps are so ridiculous. It is a little, like, some definite variation here. Gonna be a lot of dot damage between Malthael, Lunara, and potentially Thrall if he takes that Ancestral Wrath. But here comes Segatai looking for that sleep. Did get interrupted, so a little bit of a breather there, but does get that Night Rush going. And here Tidecaller Mrgles is pulling back as Alexstrasza popping the Dragon Form. Sheej hitting that face melt. Almost getting another kill onto Zagara, but they have to pull back. And that's going to be Dragon down. And Tidecaller still sitting 16 Skeletal Defenders ahead. Stukov getting the team nice and healthy here for their re-engage. The power slide in onto Mal'Ganis. Just a moment too late on that silence. And now the Night Rush putting him to sleep. 2 heroes about to fall as Malthael and Thrall get taken out there from that Zagara damage. Those Banelings doing some solid work. Now, as we were talking about some variations here, we do have the Black Harvest from Malthael, given that additional 2 seconds of dot damage once completed. And this first Punisher is going to be, it's a frozen Punisher. It's going to go over to Arrogant Nephalem. So, and this wall was already prepped by Zagara earlier, so it was pretty low to begin with. And this frozen Punisher is going to shut down that tower. So this puts the Tidecaller Mrgles in a little bit of danger. They can't assume that the fort is going to protect them. There's a minion wave here as well to soak up those tower shots, and it's shut down again. So Arrogant Nephalem can be very aggressive about their positioning and taking fights, where we've got Blaze and Malthael down there in the bot lane having a little bit of a skirmish, but they're okay. First fort goes down, and this Punisher is still fairly healthy, but with this full wall up, they're able to bait it over. They're gonna get it killed, and that's 1 tower and probably this wall as well that will be down for this keep. So, you know, the Mrgles gotta have something in their back pocket here, and right now they've got a lot of this spread damage that Alexstrasza is gonna be able to, you know, heal up pretty decently with her W's, with her circles abundance. Now, I was gonna say, I think that they know he's here. Maybe not, because ETC walked right into that, and that's a sleep followed up by a jet propulsion, and Siege is in danger here, knocking him out of the heal. They are going to get the kill onto the Jaina. Not entirely sure how that even happens, but it did. So that forces Arrogant Nephalem now to back out, but not for long. They've got level 10s coming up, and let's check that out. So again, minion XP 3,000 lead over to Arrogant Nephalem. That is a very significant figure at this stage in the game. And with that level 10 here, we're going to see this big sleep. I expect to see some big combos here as jet propulsion coming in, power slide in, as well as the silence. So actually, it's going to be the Tidecaller Mrgles getting that camp, as the rest of the team just wasn't quite there to follow up with it. I mean, that was huge potential between the jet propulsion, the sleep coming out from the Mal'Ganis, but there was no Ring of Frost or Devouring Maw to follow up there. So, lucky for them. Worked out. Nobody died. And both teams are now sitting at level 10. So, my bad. Didn't even see that. I just looked at them. Didn't see them down there. I didn't see Malthael down there at all. But anyways, as I was saying, level 10 here. Jet propulsion in onto the ETC. ETC does have to get out of there, and especially with the Mal'Ganis coming around the back line to potentially put him to sleep. That could have been a very dangerous place for the ETC to be. So we've got the Ring of Frost, the bunker, and you know what? I mean, that worked out so well for them last game, the Ring of Frost around the bunker. I almost wonder if that's not the point, but we also have Devouring Maw, Cleansing Flame, and Carrion Swarm here, and that's going to round out the ultimates for Arrogant Nephalem. And you know what? They've got a huge potential combo in that Devouring Maw and Ring of Frost. You know, if Zagara can get that to land, and that's, you know, a very short duration before it actually comes up out of the ground and eats those players, that Ring of Frost can set them up for just absolute devastation. But on the other side, we have more Wombo combo potential with the Mosh Pit. We've got that Thrall Earthquake as well, and Stukov's going to have that massive shove. So he's probably going to be looking at getting, you know, somebody like the Mal'Ganis out so that he can't put the entire team to sleep. We also have the Last Rites and Leaping Strike from Lunara. So giving her that brief unstoppable will help when the Mal'Ganis comes in to put her to sleep. ETC power sliding in. Mal'Ganis in the silence is going to fall, so no Carrion Swarm for him. And there's the Mosh Pit onto the bunker. Thrall and ETC, I thought, went into that, but it didn't show the ETC there. And Jaina getting stunned, and Last Rites is going to secure the kill, but not before Thrall will die to the Blaze. Siege is falling very low, and Dragon is doing some solid damage here. It looks like Siege is going to make it out. So just the one kill on the side of Arrogant Nephalem, but 2 for Tidecaller Mrgles. Level 13's here available for the Nephalem as well. They are going to pull back. They don't have Dragon Queen, but all their damage at this point is coming out as Zagara. So Tidecaller Mrgles have to get as much as they can out of this before the Mal'Ganis makes it here, because that gives them a lot of CC potential. And they are very close here. They do have some pretty decent damage, but ETC is going to get in, save the Lunara there, as she was stunned there from the jet propulsion. And that's going to give the Arcane Punisher here over to Tidecaller Mrgles, but not before Malthael will fall to the Zagara. And Thrall getting that big Feral Spirit and helping Jaina to get, or I'm sorry, helping Lunara rather to get that kill onto Jaina. Let's check in. How is Jaina doing on her stack? So 7,300. She's about halfway to getting the ice block. So gonna need that to be able to help prevent those scenarios like we just saw here. And level 13 coming up now for Tidecaller Mrgles. So they're gonna be on even talent tiers, pushing into this keep. And just like we saw in the top lane, the Punisher is sitting about a half health here, but we're going to go ahead and pull back and get to work on invading some of these camps, as they don't have the same kind of pressure with like a Zagara with minions to soak up those tower shots. So nice safe defensive play here coming out from Tidecaller Mrgles. I like that they pulled back. They weren't too aggressive on it. And that evens out the overall structure damage in the game too. It makes it so that they've got occasional catapult pressure in the opposite lane, so top and bottom. So we've seen top Punisher, we've seen bottom Punisher. The next one is going to be top. So this is a little bit unfortunate maybe for the Tidecaller Mrgles. And it should be Mortar if I remember correctly, yes. So, you know, it's unfortunate for them. Oh, big power slide in. A lot of damage coming out from the Lunara, and the silence, and just barely able to knock him out and prevent him from getting that Carrion Swarm. Big kill for Tidecaller Mrgles, and now they're looking for a big mosh, and he gets the 2. Devouring Maw coming in is going to get the mosh pit interrupted, not before it can get the kill onto Jaina, and Last Rites is going to go out. Bunker's going to get dropped, so Blaze is going to be just fine, at least for the moment. A lot of damage though, as Kime falling low, but that's a 2-for-0 trade, and now XP nearly equalized between these two teams. There's still a camp here just making its way through the minions. That should be relatively easily cleared up, but what do we got for camp timers? 12 seconds. Are they heading up here to this Shaman camp? I think this would be questionable. And they're not going to go there. They're just going to get this XP. They're making their way to level 16. Both teams are probably going to get it about the same time, as there's plenty of XP in both teams' lanes to be able to pick up and get that level 16. And since the next Punisher is in the top lane, we got Tidecaller coming over here, just grabbing their camp and getting that pressure going, because it's not going to do them a whole lot of good in the middle of the top lane when that objective is spawning. So with this split, I was going to say, ETC's coming up. They're looking for this Zagara. They're going to get the power slide. The silence coming in. They're doing a great job of comboing that, and the Last Rites getting an additional stack. And Tidecaller Mrgles is doing a fantastic job of looking for these isolation kills, getting the stun, getting the silence, making sure that they cannot use those defensive abilities, where it's the Devouring Maw, the Night Rush, you know, any of those things to get out of the dangerous circumstances that they've been finding themselves in. And now, you know, kind of counter to what we've been seeing, Malthael's off in his own lane, so 4v4, and they're going to push in a little bit onto that wall, get the well down. So at least that equalizes their ability to fight over the control point. Now, still, the advantage on this does go over to Arrogant Nephalem a little bit here. Now, I believe that we have a Dragon Queen available. Let's take a look at that here. I think that's 9. Yes, she does have Dragon Queen available, so with all 5 members of both teams coming in and all of their ultimates are available, this is where it's going to get exciting. If Arrogant Nephalem pick this up, this is almost certainly going to be a keep. So this is far more important for them than Tidecaller, or the other way, for Tidecaller than for Arrogant Nephalem. And Tidecaller is going to go ahead and pull back. The Devouring Maw is not going to hit anybody. Looks like they're going to go ahead and wait this out. They've got 19-3. They've really started that so far well. And Dragon Queen is just about to expire. We're getting that big abundance circle just at the end of that here. And the only ultimate used there was the Devouring Maw. So that is one of their primary Mosh interrupts, as the Skeletal Defender's now just about equal. And Arrogant Nephalem looking at this saying, you know what, we don't have to win this. We can be a little bit more defensive. But Sheet's going to take a load of damage, and now Cleansing Flame is coming out looking for that ETC kill. And between the guitar solo and Key, they're keeping him up. Ring of Frost gonna miss everybody there, but the jet propulsion onto Sheet is gonna get the stun. Rise Robin, though, is the one who's falling quickly, and Lunara falls first. Jaina as well, though, and with that mosh pit, lots of lockdown. Black Harvest now completed from Rise Robin there, and Kime gonna be the next one to fall as Power Slide coming in 1 for 3 in favor of Tidecaller Mrgles, and they're coming into this saying, you know what? We may have lost Towers of Doom, but we played it well. We had some solid team fights, and they are making those team fights work in their favor in this game. 12 kills to 7, and they're going to pick up their second Punisher of this game. I don't think I've shown those level 16s in a while. And I think right here is the thing. Frostbite. Jaina's got to finish that quest. If she can't finish that quest, she doesn't get Ice Block. And no Ice Block means that she dies to basically Lunara jumping on her face. Using that leaping strike. There's the mosh. See, I called it. There you go. Alright, Power Slide in onto the Mal'Ganis. The silence coming down, interrupting the Fell Claws. But not enough follow-up to really lock that down, and that's okay. They still have half of the Punisher here. They're going to get this full wall, the tower down, and they're going to back away. They're 2/3 of the way to level 20, and they want these level 20s. They want to get the big Storm Talents for the Malthael, possibly going into No One Can Stop Death. You've got the potential for Thrall to take that Earthquake Shield. Also his Wind Fury, version of Bolt of the Storm. Lunara can take that. It's not Unfair Advantage, is it? That's the level 16, I think. Yeah, Intensifying Toxin, and I think that Intensifying Toxin becomes a real big problem for this team, the way that things have gone so far, and that's exactly what it's going to be. So instead, Final Curtain for the Malthael. So gonna have that Shroud of Death on the ground. It is the Earthquake upgrade, so they're going to get those free shields every few seconds within. And take a look at the damage here. Half of Mal'Ganis' health. Last Right's going to get that kill. Big Ring of Frost, though, hits 3, and 2 of those 3 are going to fall. The Death Mosh coming out doesn't hit anybody. Devouring Maw used, and Lunara falling very low here. Jet Propulsion coming in. Lunara is going to fall, so a 3-for-1 trade this time in favor of Arrogant Nephalem, even with the level 20s. And that is a huge play for Arrogant Nephalem, and they're going to look to clear up this lane. And where can they get value? They can certainly get this camp. They've got 30 seconds before anything else comes up. And I think I don't know. I think they could have been aggressive here. A Stukov and a Thrall I don't think is enough of a defense to deal with the Jaina Blaze, Zagara, Alexstrasza, but they're just going to focus on keeping their lanes cleaned up, keeping that pressure away from their keep in the bot lane here, and ultimately saving this mid lane. Big oof coming out from Shui. What do we got? Level 20s here for Jaina. Of course, that Cold Snap. I think we saw that earlier. The upgraded Devouring Maw. So 50% more damage and reducing the cooldown if they get a takedown. So that could be a pretty significant benefit depending on the timing of that. Alexstrasza taking that additional Cleansing Flame, so potentially popping down as a dragon if she is able to hit enough heroes. And of course the upgraded Carrion Swarm. Now that Carrion Swarm is going to be deadly, as it can put basically the entire enemy team to sleep for a couple of seconds, and that would be a huge problem setting up a Ring of Frost or Devouring Maw for that big combo. Frozen Punisher in the bot lane, And this is exactly the opposite of what we saw in the top lane earlier. So this is most important for Arrogant Nephalem to secure, because they have no fort here and they have no wall. So that Punisher becomes a keep for sure. Whereas Tidecaller Mrgles, they still have their well, they still have their fort. So this is going to be a little bit easier overall time for them, and certainly easier to defend if they lose it. And with Malthael up in the top, not a whole lot that they can really do on this. So this is going to be an early lead on the skeletal defenders here for the Arrogant Nephalem. And now that they're almost halfway there, Dragon Queen is going to get popped. And so Tidecaller is going to come in, see what they can find. We've got Malthael looking in the back line there. There's that massive shove onto the Mal'Ganis here. Ring of Frost is going to hit 3, and the blind is a bat coming out, getting a lot of damage here. Trabe getting a lot of damage, but gets the ice block, as mentioned earlier in there. It's going to be Thrall falling first, followed by Lunara. Make it Malthael a triple kill. And a Frozen Punisher coming out on top of it. So while it was potential for them to go ahead and defend this before with their full 5-man squad, this is now fort for sure, and probably keep at this point. I don't see Stukov and ETC able to defend this keep at this point, with 40 seconds before most of the damage for Tidecaller Mrgles comes up here. And here comes that Punisher sitting at a cool 90% health. And the sidewall already taken down, so you see ETC there trying to bait the Punisher to pull it up, but just missing on the timing on the power slide there. Still not able to get the attention of the Immortal. Feels bad as ETC does get rooted now. 10 seconds before Malthael's up, so this is 10 seconds of time that they can get onto this core. The Punisher still sitting at 3/4 of its health. And this could very well be game here, although here come the cavalry trying to get in as ETC pulling the Punisher off to the side. And I think if Arrogant Nephalem just right-clicks the core, they win here, and it looks like that's going to be the case. Hey, 8-Bit, thanks for the follow. Glad you could join us tonight. Accidents happen. Why they make races? Good point. Good point. All right. Trabe. Alrighty then, so Trabe is going to join us here in just a moment. And by just a moment, I mean Trabe is here. Oh, that's not Trabe. Somebody hopped into my channel to chat there for a moment.
Yeah, indeed I did. Oh, well, someone else.
No, somebody else. I thought it was you, and I was like, hey.
No.
Well, hey, listen, congratulations on your victory there. That was a hard-fought win. I think, you know, maybe there was a little bit of sweating going on there, but you guys ultimately managed to pull out a 2-0 victory in your... This is your first series of... No, it's not. This is your second series of the season, right?
We had one last night. We had our early flex match.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, as the former div mod for C West, I do want to say that I do appreciate, you know, teams getting their flex matches done. So, you know, gold star for you guys.
Yeah, we do what we can.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about these games. So game number 1, Towers of Doom. You guys come out of the gate real strong, right? You guys are burning down towers in the bot lane. There were some, you know, back and forth kills between Chen and Blaze, but Blaze, you know, hats off to Kime, did a fantastic job helping you guys to secure an early 12-0 in that first round. Like, how did that feel getting into that? Like, were you guys expecting to go into that and be really strong early game, or was that just Kime putting you guys on their back and going for it?
Well, I know for that moment in particular, we were very surprised because we were asking, hey Kime, what should our plan be with top altars? Are you going to split, or do we need to come up and help? And we got sort of a non-committal, give me a second. And we were like, oh great, this is wonderful for shot calling. And then someone died, and he was like, I think I got both of the top ones. I'm like, okay, sure. That makes it nice and easy on us.
And then, of course, ultimately able to rotate down, and that battle was quite back and forth, but ultimately you guys succeed and get the full 12 points. And I think you guys got like all the way down to 24 before they got one, roughly, so quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of those early fights, you're right, were just super close, super back and forth, and we, I think, just managed to just barely sneak out in all of them, and they were all conveniently timed at very pivotal moments, so we didn't manage to get that many kills, but the ones we got were well timed and managed to help us out pretty well there.
Well, and this felt like a really even matchup between the teams, and I think in game number 1, what you just said was the deciding factor. The wins that you guys had were at good times that allowed you to capitalize on it, and the wins that they had were kind of just, okay, well, we won, but there's not an altar up for us to go, get value from.
Yeah, they got a couple of picks. I'm pretty sure at least one of them was on me. But just, yeah, that's the problem with towers. If the camps are down and the altars aren't up and you get a kill or two, well, you kind of wander around for a bit and wish the map showed something different.
Yeah, right. And, there were certainly some times they had some really solid mosh pits on you guys. There was one, I think the most memorable moment for, that game, because there was a lot of just, you guys slowly inching towards victory, was after 10, they got a fight in the middle altar area there. I think it's you and one other person in the mosh pit. I think it was maybe Sega. And Taronda's like just outside the mosh pit. She has no lunar flare. And, you would normally expect everybody to pile in on the mosh pit, but they actually went for Taronda and killed her. It was just a memorable moment for me. But you guys had a lot of those, and one of those was a big fat blaze bunker ring of frost combo up in that top lane. How amazing did that feel when you guys not only saved Kime but also just destroy the team?
I mean, that's the whole reason that I picked Jaina. I don't know what I'm doing with her other abilities. I just throw them on minions and hope that it all works out. But then we hit level 10. I got the thing that I can do stuff in fights now. I don't think I've ever picked water elemental in an NGS game, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Any opportunity I can get to. That's like the one of 3 abilities in this game that I actually know how to aim properly. So any opportunity I get to land it feels pretty good.
Well, and then you guys get into game number 2. So game number 1 was very strong, in your favor. The kills were slightly in your favor. If I remember correctly, it was like 13-10. Structures, obviously, were mostly balanced throughout the match, although I think you guys ended with 1 additional. But for the most part, like we said, relatively balanced, but the points were heavily in your favor. The second game, very balanced game, right? You guys get the top fort. They got the bottom fort. The Punishers alternate, and then the game seems to throw this this worst case scenario die roll in both of your favor. The top lane, Punisher again against them. The top lane Punisher or bottom lane Punisher potentially against you. But both teams end up winning the ones that they need to, so that they don't potentially lose their keep. Except you guys win harder. Like I felt like 80% of that game you guys were playing from just a little bit behind, as they did a great job of picking on the Zagara. You're gonna hear me mention a couple of times, if only Jaina had her ice block here. She might be alive right now.
I got it at level 22, 23, somewhere around there. We got there eventually.
Late. But you know what? You got it at the exact moment you needed it, because that last fight over that control point, if you die there, it's over and they win. But instead, you get your ice block. Mal'Ganis gets his stuff in there, and with the ult upgrade, you guys really played that hard. So, with being behind, what I felt like was behind, even though the map overall was even, it felt like you guys were constantly playing just slightly behind because there was one person picked or what have you. How did you guys adjust in the game to keep your head in the game to make sure that you win that fight at level 20 and ultimately win the game?
I think the big thing was just making sure that we actually had a plan in team fights instead of let's wander in and see what happens. We don't play a ton of Zagara, and when we play Zagara, we usually don't play it with Maul. So there's a lot of sort of no one really knows when it's going to come out. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. So I'm holding all my long cooldowns, trying to make sure I don't interfere with the Maw, and then the Maw is being saved to be used defensively in case of Mosh, and we're all just sort of jumbled and trying to do the right thing, but it ends up with us not ever actually killing anybody. And so after about 3 fights of that, we said, all right, let's actually figure out how are we initiating fights? When are ults being used, and what are they being used on? And then once we had that, it turns out it gets a lot easier to actually coordinate because you know what you're supposed to be doing and you're not all waiting on the other people to do things.
Who knew, right?
Yeah, I would have thought.
When you had a plan that it would work out.
Yeah.
Good deal, good deal. Well, I thought that the bans that you guys had were, you know, ideal. They worked really well against who you were playing against, as well as just being, in general, good bans for the maps as well. It was really fantastic play. And in all seriousness, I mean, I cast 100-something games last season. I cast a bunch the season before. I honestly think this is the first time I've cast a Zagara game. So, you know, getting to see how that played out. And also, you know, hats off to you guys. One thing that you guys did really well, and you don't really get to see this often, is you guys were always ahead in the minion XP. You know, with the change for XP globes, you know, that's something that I've been really watching. And, you know, in the first game it was a little bit ahead. You know, at about level 10, you guys were like 3,000 XP ahead in minion XP. So not something I expected with the Zagara because of the fact that she's ranged, and I figured that would be a little bit harder. Is there anything that you guys did going into this, knowing that, especially having played yesterday too, knowing that change came into it, that you guys needed to adjust to deal with that at all?
I don't know that we made a ton of adjustments, but we definitely we're considering it more tonight after how last night went. We knew that, well, on one hand, we have 2 solo lane mains playing in our group tonight, and so when you have 2 of those, you tend to do a pretty good job of catching all the minions because they'll just wander off and go clear a lane if the rest of you are forgetting to do it. It's like it's something instinctive in their blood or something. They just want to go take camps and clear lanes. I don't understand it. And the other thing is we knew that if we didn't stay and get all the soak, that Sega would yell at us a lot. Because that's what was happening last night, and I didn't like that. And so it definitely at least made sure that I wasn't paying more attention to it because I didn't want to get yelled at again.
Fair enough. Makes sense. Well, good deal. Hey, listen, it's late, so, you know, I don't want to keep you any later, and I certainly don't want to keep myself any later, so why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? Is there anything, before we get to shoutouts, is there anything that you wanted to highlight from the match? Anything you, you know, a particular player who did, you know, extremely well, or a moment that you wanted to highlight?
I would say that I never want to play against that ETC or that Stukov again, if that's a possibility. If there's any way we can arrange the schedule for the remainder of the season to make sure I don't have to play either of those 2 heroes again, I'll be very happy because I'm not used to quite so many power slides into silences into explodings as happened in that second game. It's not a wonderful feeling, especially when it happens for like the 3rd time in 6 minutes. So yeah. Kudos to them for that.
They did do really well with that. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap up then. Any shout-outs that you'd like to make? Floor is yours.
Yeah, shout-outs to Beast Coast, our sort of sister team. They're up in Div A this season, having made the jump from Div B. They might have had a game today. They might have some games in the future. I'm not totally sure what their schedule is. But best of luck to them if they haven't played yet. And I'm interested to see how they will do this season. I think it'll be pretty competitive. So
they actually they did have a game today. I don't know the results of that because it hasn't been reported. So I think when I last looked, it was 1-1 though. So so they at least got 1 point.
Yeah, congrats on the 1 point. And if there's other points, even better.
Fair enough. All right. Well, hey, listen, and is it Trabe or is it Tribe? Like I've heard somebody say Trabe.
Yeah, you got it.
I thought it was Trabe. Okay. Cool. Well, hey, listen, thanks for joining me again. Congrats on your victory, and of course, I mean, getting a 2-0 domination already would put you at the top of the standings, but also having gotten points from yesterday means that there's no way anybody's touching you now. You guys can get ride the first place wave all the way to the finals.
Yeah, that's the reason we schedule our flex matches early. We get them all done, and then at Christmas break, we try to convince the mods to just like cancel the back half of the season and go straight to playoffs. It's kind of a long shot, but it's what our plan is at least.
Fair enough. All right. I like it. Well, thanks again for joining me. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks for picking up the cast. Really appreciate it. Of course.
Absolutely. Have a good one. All right, everybody, that is going to wrap us up for the evening. Thanks again for joining us. Been an absolute pleasure. and you know, staying late for this past midnight cast. So let's see who's out there in Twitchland. Anybody that I know. Oh, you know what? Moist Weenus is still gone. Why don't we go ahead and see what's going on over there? That is Vilefin Mrgles, so another Mrgles team. And Piecemeal. Now, Piecemeal, this is their actual Week 1 game. Piecemeal was the team that Arrogant Nephalem had played. So there you go. You get to see another team. Thanks again for joining us tonight, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you again tomorrow, I think. Yeah, tomorrow.